Let me tell you a secret. England once paid pirates to steal for the crown. Sounds crazy, right? But in the 1600s, that was how empires were built, with gold, gunpowder, and a bit of treachery. The Atlantic was chaos. Spain, France, England, each one fighting for gold, colonies, and control of the seas. But war was expensive, and England's treasury was running dry. So the crown came up with a bold plan: if we can't afford to fight, we'll hire the outlaws. And thus, a new breed of sailor was born, the privateer. Privateers were basically pirates with permission. The Queen gave them a license to raid enemy ships, as long as they shared the loot with Her Majesty's treasury. It was a brilliant move. England didn't need a massive navy, it had hundreds of eager adventurers ready to risk their lives for gold and glory. And leading him was a man who would become legend: Sir Francis Drake. Drake wasn't just a sailor. He was bold, cunning, and fearless, the kind of man who could turn the ocean itself into a weapon. The Queen gave him one mission: to cripple Spain's empire. Drake and his crew raided the Spanish treasure fleets. They stole gold and silver, bound for the New World. Each time he returned, he brought not only treasure, but power, back to England. The Queen was impressed. Drake had brought wealth, fame, and power to England. In 1581, inside the grand halls of Whitehall Palace, she knelt before him and made him Sir Francis Drake. A pirate, now a knight. He circled the globe, survived storms, and humiliated Spain. When he finally returned home, his ship was so full of gold, it could barely stay afloat. The Queen welcomed Drake like a hero. In a grand ceremony, she placed a sword on his shoulder and said, "Rise, Sir Francis Drake." A pirate had just been knighted by royalty. It was the ultimate twist. The man who once looted ships in secret was now celebrated in the open, proof that power can turn crime into glory. The victory sparked a new idea. What if piracy could be an investment? England's nobles and merchants began funding voyages in secret, gold in, papers signed, and a share of the plunder when the ships returned. They called it private enterprise. In reality, it was organized looting. Investors would pay for ships and weapons, and when the pirates returned, everyone took a share of the stolen fortune. One of these investors backed a man named William Kidd, a respected Scottish captain hired to hunt pirates in the Indian Ocean. His orders came straight from the crown. But the line between hunter and hunted blurred fast. Kidd captured a wealthy merchant ship, and that single act turned him from royal servant into wanted pirate. When he returned to England, the same nobles who funded him denied everything. The crown needed a scapegoat, and William Kidd was hanged in 1701. As more ships set sail under the Queen's name, control began to slip. Some privateers kept the treasure, but forgot to send the Queen her share. Others simply went rogue, abandoning their royal papers and turning full pirate. They found freedom on the open sea, and profit beyond imagination. The Caribbean soon became a pirate paradise. Nassau, Jamaica, and Tortuga turned into bustling hubs where gold changed hands faster than news could travel. It was called the Republic of Pirates, a floating democracy of thieves, outlaws, and dreamers who answered to no king, no queen, no god. But England's merchants were furious. Trade was collapsing, ships vanished by the dozens. The crown realized the monsters it had fed were now feasting on its own empire. By the early 1700s, the crown had had enough. Trade was bleeding, allies were angry, and the Queen demanded order on the seas once again. The solution: hunt the hunters. The crown began sending out special captains, pirate hunters, tasked with cleansing the Caribbean once and for all. One of them was Woodes Rogers, a former privateer himself. He knew the pirate life, because he had lived it. Now, he would become their nightmare. Rogers sailed to Nassau, the heart of the pirate republic, offering every pirate a choice: surrender for a royal pardon, or hang. Many pirates took the deal. Over 200 men accepted the Queen's pardon, but others refused to kneel. The ones who refused became legends. Men like Blackbeard and Calico Jack vowed to fight until their last breath, not for gold anymore, but for freedom. They knew their time was running out. The seas were crawling with warships, and every island that once welcomed them was now flying the Union Jack. The final battles were brutal. Cannon smoke filled the air, and the ocean turned black with fire and oil. One by one, the pirate captains fell. When Blackbeard was finally killed in 1718, the age of the great pirates ended. The seas grew quiet again, but not clean. Because the truth was, England didn't destroy piracy, it simply replaced it with banks, trade companies, and laws written by the same men who once funded thieves. As the smoke of battle cleared, a new kind of empire began to rise, not with cannons and swords, but with contracts and ledgers. The same men who once financed pirates now funded trading companies. The most powerful of them all, the East India Company. It had its own army, its own currency, even its own flag. A private company, ruling half the world in the name of profit. In a strange way, the pirates had won. They taught the crown that wealth doesn't have to be stolen at sea, it can be extracted through trade, debt, and control. The swords were gone, but the hunger remained. The age of piracy ended, and the age of finance began. The Queen's pirates were gone, but their spirit never truly died. It simply changed clothes, from torn sails to tailored suits. The same hunger for power and gold moved from the oceans to the boardrooms. The game was the same, only the battlefield had changed. Now they used contracts instead of cannons, numbers instead of gunpowder, and profit, not plunder, became the new definition of victory. But if you listen closely, you can still hear the echoes, the same winds that carried Drake and Kidd now whisper through skyscraper canyons. Centuries have passed, yet the lessons of the Queen's pirates still linger, hidden in balance sheets and offshore accounts instead of treasure maps. History loves to change its costume. Yesterday's pirate is today's banker, yesterday's plunder is today's profit. But beneath all the gold and glory, one truth has never changed: every empire, no matter how noble it seems, is built on someone else's loss. So next time you hear stories of power and wealth, remember, once upon a time, the Queen built her empire not with saints, but with pirates. Her greatest weapon wasn't the sword, it was gold.